Hi, I'm Rick Conlow. So you're a new supervisor. Congratulations. Now what? That's the key question, isn't it? I'm going to give you 5 key strategies to start your career as a supervisor fast and successfully. Let me begin with a little introduction here. I remember my brother-in-law, Jeff, who called me after he got the role of supervisor. And he goes, "Rick, you got to help me." And I says, "Rick, what's the matter?" And he says, "They don't build these power takeoff units with the quality they should. And they come late to work and they squabble. What's the matter with these people?" he said. And I said, "Jeff, welcome to Supervision." See, Jeff's company didn't give him a lot of guidance and direction or training to help him be successful in leading people. He was good at building the units, but in terms of interacting with the team, he had a lot to learn. And many supervisors fall into that category. That may or may not be true for you, but regardless of the case, what I'll comment on can be helpful to you. I should also note that the #1 reason why supervisors, managers, and leaders fail across organizations is because of poor people skills. In other words, they're not very effective at dealing with conflict, giving feedback, setting clear goals and expectations, communicating about a vision and a plan, building a team, those kinds of strategies. And it makes or breaks a leader's success today, regardless of what level they're at. You can have 5 people or 500, and that's one of the key things we have to be good at. And so you'll see in the strategies that I comment on that it's a part of all of that in terms of leading people, engaging people. I should also mention to you that the role of a supervisor is kind of like this. You remember when you first learned how to drive a car? You know, you had student driver training and your parents would go with you. But how about that time you got the keys to the car to go solo? Wow, what an experience. I remember that time. And I also remember my father waiting up at night, right at midnight, and I came in at 12:01 and he looked at me and he said, "You're late." You know, those kinds of things we had to be concerned about back at those times. But when you drove a car solo, it's a lot different than being a passenger. I think you'd agree with me. And it's just like being a supervisor. You are totally accountable and responsible for results. And your perspective of the job is different. Whereas an employee, you're getting things done. Whereas a supervisor, you're getting things done through people. That's one of the biggest differences we need to remember. So what do you do when you start out as a new supervisor? I say you need to change. You need to look at yourself and do an analysis in terms of your skills and your capabilities and your abilities and how it fits the job that you have. Now certainly we'll have mixed emotions in this new role. Excited for a new opportunity, growing your career, but at the same time a little concerned, maybe wondering, can I do this job? You know, so you got those mixed emotions. So you have to look at yourself. You have to change. I'm going to show you a model for change. And in this model, it gives you 3 key areas to consider. First, self-awareness. As I said, we got to take a look at, do an inventory, if you will, of what our abilities are. That's 50% of change. Then 25% of change is all about the goals and the plans for the job and your desire to do well. And then another 25% of change is about your skill and your knowledge base and your behavioral actions that you take. Notice on here, nowhere does it say in this model that it's your boss or it's the employees or the customers or the economy or the president. See, it's all about you. What are you going to do? See, we say this to leaders, that people want to be great, and if they aren't, the manager or the supervisor or the leader won't let them be. You have tremendous power and influence. The single greatest impact on the performance of an employee is their direct supervisor. That's you in your new role. Now take your hands, clasp them together. Notice which thumb is on top. Take them apart, reclasp them with the other thumb on top. How does that feel? A little uncomfortable? Fold your arms like you normally do. Notice which hand's tucked in. Take them apart, refold them with the other hand tucked in. If you can. You got it? How's that feel? A little uncomfortable. Change is always like that in the beginning. You'll feel some uncomfortability in your new job, but that goes with the territory. You can learn and grow into the position. Take your pen or pencil, sign your name as if you're signing a check. Now put it in the other hand, sign your name as if you're signing a check. How do they look? I remember one manager saying, you can't read either one of them. They're both awful. Well, how about you? Here's the key question here. If you no longer had your first hand to sign your name and all you had was your second hand, how would you do? Could you learn to do better? And of course the answer to that is over time, yes, you can get better. Just like being in the supervisor role. You can get better in time. And there's two ways to change. You can be forced to because the boss says you better change or you won't have this job anymore. Or you can make a commitment personally to learn what you need to learn, to be able to adapt your personality, your approach to dealing with people to be successful. So let's talk about 5 strategies you can take. And by the way, these strategies come from 2 of our books that we have designed particularly for new supervisors. One's called Excellence in Supervision, that's step 1, and the other one's called Excellence in Management, that's step 2. Both of these you can find on our website. So, what are these strategies that you can use? Very first one is you need to have a conversation with your boss about his or her expectations for you, the goals and the action plans that are expected of you in that role. If your boss doesn't ask you, you go to your boss and get that clarified and then get it put in writing. If your boss doesn't put it in writing, you put it in writing and double check to make sure you understood. It lays the foundation for starting successfully. It's your launching pad, if you will, and you want it as solid as possible. Second thing is you want to meet with each employee. And why do you want to do that? Well, you're one of the peers, now you become the boss. So that happens in many cases. Other cases, you come from the outside and come in, but people are always wondering, who is this person? So this strategy works either way. Sit down informally in a conference room, not your office, and just talk to the employee, get to know them. Ask them a few questions about their background. Give them a few questions or specifics about your background. Ask them how they're doing in the job, what they like about it, what they feel they're really good at, what they want help with. Tell them a couple things that you're thinking about in the position, and just kind of have an informal dialogue, 10-15 minutes at the most, and do that with each and every employee. That's a beginning of what we will call later on coaching one-on-ones. And then 3, hold a team meeting, and do this within the first week or 2 of having your position. Now your boss, by the way, should hold a meeting, 5-10 minutes, and introduce you to everybody as the new supervisor. If that isn't done, you need to have that done. And then you need to do a meeting like that on your own. And why do you want to do that? Because you want to be able to communicate with your team, set some direction and expectations, and let people know that you're approachable. That's what you're doing. It's communication. Make this team meeting that you do 20 to 30 minutes. And in it, share your excitement about the job, address the team that, you're a peer or you're coming in and you see everybody as colleagues and you want to work well together. Emphasize the importance of teamwork. Review the goals and the expectations and action steps that your boss has for you. Now, there may be a few things that you don't share. For example, if they say, I think you need to fire so-and-so, but take a look into it, let me know what you think. Well, of course, you're not going to tell the team that. But you're going to share with them in general what those goals and plans are to set the tone. Because what you're doing here is communicating with the team, sharing some ideas, answering some of their questions, but also setting a direction. And then look for input from the team. Think of a couple of things. If you get some ideas from your team, or you can get a small win or 2 that you can quickly solve and make better working with your team, that'll build some success momentum for you and set up your competence for being able to make things happen. And then open up the meeting at the end for the last 5-10 minutes or so for questions that the team may have. They may or may not have some. If they do, fantastic. Answer them to the best of your ability. Don't make up any answers. If you don't know an answer, say, let me check with my boss and I'll let you know. Then, of course, make sure you get back to them. If they don't have any questions, just thank them for their time and off you go. So notice what we've done in these 3 things so far. Talk to your boss, meet one-on-one with each employee, team meeting sets a tone, direction, communication, and a positive approach. The fourth thing you want to do is communicate and recognize progress. So be available during the day. See how people are doing. Check in with everybody every day. See what's happening. Just do it informally. Sometimes when you have to ask them some things about the job that you need them to do. But when you see them, make a good effort. Praise them. Say, hey, thank you for doing that. I like how you did that. You got it done on time. Or the quality was really great here. I appreciate it. Way to go. Too often, bosses get so tied up in other things that they don't interact with their teams like this, and it begins to destroy teamwork right away. If you do that, it'll build teamwork. Fifth thing you need to do right away is you need to be able to deal with poor performance. Somebody is going to try you on. In other words, they're going to do something wrong, maybe deliberately, or they'll do something wrong, check around to see if anybody's looking and do it wrong again or not follow procedure, and they do it just to see if you will do anything. And so what you have to do if that happens is confront it. And you don't have to yell and scream or whatever, you just need to say something like this. Rick, I noticed that on that last part that you were dealing with, you did 1, 2, 3. What we really want you to do with that is ABC. So will you go ahead and do that now, please? So you call them on it immediately. Notice I didn't yell or scream. I didn't call anybody names. I didn't use swear words or anything like this. I just redirected the employee and showed them what you expected to have done. That will set a tone for people. If you don't follow up on some of those problems, what people will do is think they can get by with mediocre performance. You want to set a higher standard than that. And you know, I'm going to add another point. Be a student of the game. In other words, learn all you can. If your company has any training programs in supervision or management, get involved in them. Don't put it off. Take them as quickly as you can. If they don't have anything, go on the internet. Look for some free WebExes. Read articles through e-zine articles about management and supervision. Go to a local community college. Take a course that costs $99. See if the company will pay for it. If it doesn't, it's a good investment out of your own pocket. Because we say this, if you want your people to be better, you have to be better as a leader. So there are some key points to consider to help you be successful right from the start. Now you know what? As you look at this picture here, problems inevitably will come up. You can have a goal, you can have a plan, you can follow these steps, and inevitably issues will come up and they will bother you. They will get in your way. It doesn't mean you can't land effectively, in this case in the picture, but it does mean you have to deal with it. So when problems come up, ask questions, get input, pay attention, and make a decision. One of the best things for a manager to do, right or wrong, after they get all the input that's available at the time, is make a decision and move forward. Sometimes problems will come up that seem downright overwhelming. It's like, how can I deal with this situation? But just like the surfer in this picture, if you're well schooled, if you're a student of your craft, if you keep learning, you can learn the skills to surf the big wave effectively. And that will come in time for you, my friend, in your role as a new supervisor. I want to mention 3 things to avoid real quick. First, don't be a buddy. A lot of supervisors start out, they want everybody to like them, and who doesn't? It's a normal reaction. But we can't be a buddy and a boss. That means you don't go out after work and have 16 drinks with people, or that you become the life of the party. There is a bit of a line there that you have to follow, because when you're off stage, you're on stage. Second is don't be bossy either. So you can go on the other extreme. You don't yell and tell people, as a new supervisor, you don't have all the answers. If you don't know something, check with your boss or other department heads. Ask for input from your team. People will respect that because you're learning as you go. And then the third thing is, don't be a bad boss right off the bat either. And the number one things employees say that they hate in their bosses from the beginning, from the get-go, is the lack of communication. And that's why I mentioned to you those first 3 points about meeting with your boss, communicating, one-on-one, communicating in a meeting. And then I mentioned communicate and recognize. 4 things that will help us deal with this issue so you become a better boss, if not a good boss, if not what we call over time a superstar leader. That'll make a difference. And then, hey, just relax. Be yourself. Make a commitment to keep learning, as I mentioned. And even though some days when you go to work, things may look like this, you can get through them because you've set a good foundation. You got a team of people around you that you've worked with and communicated with and talked to and listened to and gotten input from that will help you out. You don't have to solve all the problems. Together, you can solve the problems. So there's light at the end of the tunnel from becoming a new supervisor to becoming an experienced one. You can get through this and you can be successful. See, most people think they're performing better than they really are. And most people can perform significantly better than they are. And that's the opportunity for a supervisor or a manager or a leader, is to be able to leverage that in people and help them become what they really thought they could be one day but didn't get their hopes up too great. If you're genuine and honest in your efforts, if you really care about people, and if you help people get things done and not just tell them to get them done, you will make good progress. Now, at our website, we have many vlogs, video blogs, if you will, and articles that can give you some great input and insight into helping you continue your journey to learning to be all that you can be. And then finally, remember this: excellence in leadership is not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. Thanks for coming, and I'll look forward to talking with you again sometime soon. Take care.